Good adventures, everybody. I'm Melissa Bonzak, and welcome to episode 34 of Books Cubed, the show where I chat with the indie authors that you should be reading. It is June 20th, 2019, and I'm dying to know what you're reading. So when you're done listening, drop down into the comments and let me know. So let's see, what am I reading? I am finishing up Empty Bodies by Zach Bohannon. It is a really good zombie series, and I can't wait to talk to him about it when I'm done with the books. He was on the show a couple months ago, and it was a group show, and one person had to leave early, and I meant to chat with Zach about Empty Bodies because I had read the first book. And when the first person left, I'm like, okay, bye, everybody. Oh, what an idiot. Anyway, so I'm going to have him back on later. And I'm also listening to the Vampire series with Cecilia Mecca. These are my books that I listen to when I'm out walking my dog. And thank goodness that I'm walking the dog. I used to go out and read with a paperback while I was walking her. And I would slowly veer into traffic because, I don't know, that's what you do when you're reading a book and walking in public, which you shouldn't do. So I thought, okay, so if I'm listening to an audiobook, the dog is going to walk along the grass and guide me. Probably I'll be safe. No, my 18-year-old dog has decided that every time I start to veer out into the middle of the road, now mind you, I'm listening to a book, not reading one, and I'm still doing this, she thinks that we're turning around to go home. She's 18 and she doesn't want to go for a big walk anymore. We used to walk 1.5 miles, 2 miles, a couple times a day. And she's just decided in the last couple months that that's not for her anymore. So, oh well, I don't want to push her. She's 18 and she's in pretty good shape for an 18-year-old dog. So anyway, I don't have much time by myself. I'm around people like all day long. So when I listen to audiobooks, they get mad at me because I'll say, hang on, and I'll get my phone out and I'll pause it. Okay, I guess I should be paying attention to the people around me, but sometimes the audiobook is a little more interesting. Shh, don't tell anybody, don't tell the people that I'm hanging around with. Okay, so like I said, I'm listening to those ones. They are very good. And I'm going to have Cecilia Meck on the show next week. So you'll like that one. The ebooks that I'm listening to are ebooks that I'm listening to. Oh, I just can't talk today. I've been in this office too long, and like I say every week, it is so hot in here. Eventually, I'm going to figure out a better place to hang out while I'm working, and this is like the hottest room in the house. Maybe when it cools down, I can go out into the patio and work. I don't know. It's a pretty quiet area. There's not a lot of noise, so I might be okay out there. So the ebooks that I'm reading right now are Sins of the Angel by Lydia Hawk and Shockwave by Lindsay Baroker. Both are good so far. So I'll tell you more as I get farther into them. This week on the show, I have got Jami Albright, who is a best-selling romance author. You will love this show. She's a lot of energy. Her books are a lot of fun, very fast-paced. I'm still learning a difference between the different types of romance, so I'm not going to say anything about, I know there's sweet romance and there's other kinds, but I'm still learning all those things, so I don't want to accidentally put her in a category she isn't. So anyway, let's get right to the interview with her, and I will see you after. Hi, welcome, Jami Albright. Let me read your bio real quick.
Okay. Sure.
Jami Albright is born and raised Texas girl and is a multiple award-winning author of the Brides on the Run series, which is a lot of fun. It's a fun, snarky, sexy, laugh out loud good time. And it is, if you don't snort with laughter, she hasn't done her job. She's also a wife, mother, and an actress comedian. She used to think she could sing until someone paid her to stop. She took their money and kept on singing. Jami loves her family, all things Outlander, and puppies make her stupid happy. She can be found on Sundays during football season, go Packers, watching her beloved Houston Texans, and trying not to let them break her heart. Oh, I know, I can never say that correctly.
Yes.
And they don't play in the Packers, whatever you call it. Division, thank you. Yeah. Oh, I have no mind. They don't play in the Packers division, so I don't see them all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is JJ still with the Texans?
He's still with the Texans. They paid him a lot of money.
What a great guy.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy. And they paid him a lot of money right at the end of his first season. So he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, JJ Watt, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I remember, was it after there was some disaster and he really stepped up?
Hurricane Harvey with all the flooding here in Houston. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did. He's amazing. And hearts broke all over the world about 2 months ago because he got engaged. So, yes.
Oh, did he? I
Yes.
couldn't tell you what he looked like. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I know the name, and he just comes across as a really great guy. Okay, so we're going to talk about your Brides on the Run series, which I've been reading. It is a lot of fun. Everybody, the links are in the show notes. So wait till the show's over. Jump down to look at them. Are they still on Kindle Unlimited?
Yes, they're still in Kindle Unlimited. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so everybody, they're in Kindle Unlimited. You can get all of them, all three, and just burn right through them. And you're going to go ahead and read from one of them to start us off?
Yeah. I'm going to read from Running from a Rock Star. That's the first book in the series. And hopefully my dog does not start barking. So.
Oh, that's okay. Bring them in if they do.
Okay. All right. I'll just read it right here. Light seared through Scarlett Kelly's eyelids. She buried her face in the cool pillow to block the glare, but even that slight movement caused an explosion of agony. Pain and nausea crashed into her like a train on fire. After several minutes of panting through her symptoms, the misery subsided long enough for her to peel open her dry, sticky eyes. Her conservative dress and equally unadventurous bra stared at her from a condemning puddle on the floor. Stomach tight, she slid her gaze slightly farther to the right to identify the black pile in her peripheral vision. A motorcycle jacket, combat boots, black jeans, and a guitar? Yes, a beat-up guitar leaned against the wall on the far side of the room, and poker chips littered the carpet like crushed confetti after a wild party. What the? Suddenly, something warm cupped her naked breast. She peered down at a large hand connected to a tattooed arm connected to a, oh my Lord. She rotated her head and a stifled gasp jammed in her throat as she stared into the sleeping face of the man who shared the bed. Gavin Bain? A thrill skittered through her. The sunlight shone on his raven hair, his smooth bronze skin, his fascinating tattoos. Bam! A memory surfaced through her muddled brain. She traced the lines of one of those tattoos, the ninja star on his chest. She touched, then kissed her way. Oh my Lord. Had she done that with this rock guard? She, Scarlett Kelly, children's author and poster girl for responsible living, had had sex with Gavin Bain. Gavin Bain, the rock star, a.k.a. the delinquent. Her brain tried to piece together the previous night. She rarely drank, and certainly not to excess. Even during the worst time in her life, alcohol hadn't been involved. An acute case of bedhead made pushing her red curls from her face a painful challenge. Why had she drunk so much? It all came back to her in flashes of utter dismay. The Children's Writers' Conference in Las Vegas, nervous anticipation of signing the contract that would save her family financially, that dream blowing up in her face, then the added humiliation of overhearing herself described as the no-fun nun. She'd shown them, look at her now, naked in a strange man's bed, the absolute picture of wholesomeness. I've got to get out of here. She held her breath and she removed his hand. She held her breath as she removed his hand and slid from the bed. Moving unsteadily due to her pounding head and sour stomach, she reached for her clothes, careful to be as quiet as possible. The purse, bra, dress, and boots were easy, but where were her panties? The panic attack threatened, and her whole body trembled. Could she have removed her underwear before she got to the room? If so, she hoped that was a memory she never recovered. She gave up on the lost undies and headed for the bathroom. Lord, she needed to pee, but after a prolonged study of the toilet, decided it would be too loud, and leaving an unflushed toilet was just bad manners. Even though she had become, by all appearances, Slutty McSlut-Slut, she couldn't bring herself to be impolite, so she dressed as fast as her shaking hands allowed. The reflection in the mirror caught her eye, and the blood pounding through her veins turned to ice. Her head jerked toward her image so fast her brain vibrated. For the briefest of seconds, she saw her mother. A tiny whimper cut through the silence. A tiny whimper cut through the silence, and she ran trembling fingers over her face. People always said she looked like her mother, but now, while making the walk of shame, the resemblance was uncanny. The mantra she'd been repeating her whole life reverberated in her head. I am not my mother. I am not my mother. I am not my mother. She grabbed her purse and fled the pristine bathroom. A cool breeze from the air conditioner drifted up her dress and skimmed her bare bottom. She didn't ever go commando. Too much freedom. Restrictions were safe. Without restraint, a girl could find herself hungover, pantyless, and on the verge of a nervous breakdown, while covertly fleeing a rock star's hotel room. Oh, wait, that already happened. She glanced at the door, 9 feet, and she'd be free of this disaster. Logic screamed escape. Compulsion kept her rooted to the spot, and it became imperative that she find her underwear. I cannot leave without them. Where could one pair of basic white panties hide? The chandelier was blessedly free of them. Nothing on the drapery rod, but a photo on the desk made life as she knew it come to a screeching halt. A gaudy cardboard frame held a picture of her and Gavin under a red neon heart. The Valentine Wedding Chapel of Love spelled out in rhinestones around the border's frame. It couldn't possibly mean what she thought it did. No. Next to the picture, the condemning proof, a marriage license issued by the state of Nevada, signed by Gavin Michael Bain and Scarlett Rose Kelly. Her vision blurred, causing the letters on the certificate to dance like cartoon characters. She wrapped her arms around her middle and glanced back at the gorgeous man sleeping in the bed. A wave of vertigo slammed into her along with the memory. She told him she'd only have sex with her husband. With shaking hands, she grabbed the evidence of their reckless night and shoved it into her purse. While her hard-won reputation exploded into a million pieces, her inner wild child made a victory lap around the room. If that hussy had been driving the bus last night, then she was the reason for this catastrophe. How could she have been so irresponsible? What was she going to do? No good answer for the first question, but she knew the response to the second. Find the panties and get the heck out of Las Vegas. She dug through the comforter at the foot of the bed. She kicked at a pile of his clothes. She checked under his guitar. Nothing, nothing, nothing. They had to be under the bed. Crap. Not interested in waking the delinquent, she cautiously made her way to his side and quietly lowered herself to the floor, ignoring the sweet smile he had on his face while he slept. The white material peeked out between the headboard and the mattress. Hallelujah. She reached in and yanked them free. All the extra movement pounded dizzying pain to her skull. She bent forward and rested her head on the soft carpet and waited for the room to stop spinning. Are you praying? Asked a sleepy male voice. She squeaked, then slowly turned her head without lifting it from the carpet. Amusement sparkled in Gavin's smoky gray eyes. Yes, I'm praying you're a very bad dream. He rolled his eyes as if that could be true. Good one. Why are you really on the floor? The marriage certificate hidden in her purse and the cacophony of self-condemning thoughts made it hard to focus. Suspicion darkened his face. What are you hiding under the bed? Is there a recording device under there? Are you serious? He leveled her with a deadly glare. There was no trace of the formerly amused man. Actually, there's a reporter from TMZ under here. Would you like to say hello? When his features went from dark to thunderous, she knew she'd made a critical error with the sarcasm. I was just, looking for something? She forced herself to meet his eyes. Looking for what? Titanium coated every word and drilled into her hungover brain. Time to go. She scrambled to her feet. An increased heart rate combined with the residual alcohol pumping through her system made the room spin. She swayed, toppled cheek first to the side of the dresser, dropping the panties in the process. Ouch! She covered her face with her hands. Sheets rustled, and suddenly he was in front of her. Shit, are you okay? She slowly lowered her hands, and hot mother of a freaking cow. A very naked Gavin squatted in front of her with all his dangly bits, well, dangling. Fine, thanks. That's it. That was the best she could come up with a gorgeous naked man in front of her. So much for clever repartee. She honestly did try to keep her eyes above his shoulders, but come on. This was her last chance to see a rock god in all his tattooed naked glory. One peek, then she rose unsteadily to her feet. It was nice to meet you, but I should go. She inched toward the door. Wait, you're not going anywhere until I have some answers. He made a grab for her. Fear and adrenaline lit her up like a rocket. She forgot her injury, made an evasive move, and sprinted to get away. When she got to the door, she glanced over her shoulder. Gavin hopped on one foot, trying to yank on his jeans. The last thing she saw was her husband as he fell legs tangled in the fabric of his jeans. She bolted down the hallway toward the elevator. Come on, come on, come on. She jammed the down button repeatedly. A small logical part of her brain, not currently recovering from near alcohol poisoning, wondered what she hoped to accomplish by running. But the larger, wholly irrational part of her psyche screamed, married? I'm freaking married? I've got to get out of here. Hang on. The indicator bell dinged. Stop. Hang on. Married? I'm freaking married. I've got to get out of here. Gavin stumbled from the room into the hall, still struggling with his jeans. They were over his hips, but not buttoned. He strode down the hall toward her. The indicator bell dinged. Stop. Do not get on that elevator. The sight of him stole the air from her body. Magnificent. Scary as hell, but totally, completely magnificent. For a crazy instant, she almost complied, but then the door slid open and broke the spell. She lunged forward, but relief made her clumsy. She tumbled head over heels into the elevator, dress flying over her head as the door slid shut. Great. She just mooned her husband.
Oh, I love it. That's so great.
I have this third grade thing about reading out loud. I get on there.
Oh, I know. It's hard to do. Even if you do it a lot, it's still really easy to stumble or get so caught up in the story you forget that you're reading out loud,
right.
which sometimes
exactly.
people do.
Exactly. Well, and then I got the your computer's about to die thing, and I had plugged it in, but realized it had come undone, and that's where I lost my place. I had to replug it in.
Okay, you're all plugged back in now?
I'm back.
Okay, good. Okay, I love the whole setup of this series. It's a woman gets accidentally married. Is it just women, or is it a guy ever that gets accidentally married?
No, it's just women. Well, they both are accidentally married. And then in the other two, they actually are just running from the wedding. They never get married. They run. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not that far for the second.
At various stages in the wedding, they run. So yeah, and yeah.
Nice. How many? Boy, there's like 500 and something reviews for the first book, like 300 and something for the second. I'd want to say 150 for the third, something like that.
Yeah, maybe 130 actually.
Yeah. So it's a nice follow through. So people are going from the first book to the third, which is nice, and lots of great positive reviews.
Thank you.
And it's a fun series. So where did this come from? Did this happen to you?
No, thank God. But the way I started writing, I didn't write until I was 47, and I had been reading a lot of romance, a lot of romantic comedy. I had a friend, and she was my reading buddy, and we shared a lot of books, and so we decided I decided I would write her a book for her birthday because I had 3 months. Well, why couldn't I do it in 3 months? So stupid. And but I had never written before because I had really bad grammar, and so I was always worried about that. But when I was doing something for her, I knew she wouldn't care about that. She just, it would just be the spirit of the, what we were involved in. And so I wrote myself in a corner really fast with that story, but I didn't get very far at all. But I told her what I had thought I would do, and she was like, well, you absolutely have to do it. So we sort of brainstormed this rock star book a little bit. And basically what I was trying to do is kind of a fish out of water situation where you put two people together in each other's lives where they don't fit at all. And certainly he doesn't fit in small town Texas, which the story is mostly set in. So, so that's how it came to be. And then I knew with the second book, the character, and I knew she was going to be a runaway bride, but it wasn't until I started writing her story, because I didn't put this one out as soon as I finished it. I waited. I knew that I was going to do a runaway bride series then, because they were both runaway brides, and just different ways. So yeah, so that's how.
Yeah, it's fun. And I think I really like the fish out of water story element. That's one of my, that's one of my favorite things. That's probably what drew me to it in the first place. So it took you didn't do it in the 3 months, but you did it in,
well,
how long did it take? Is the Runaway Bride the first one? Is that the one that you wrote for your friend?
No, it's not the one I started for my friend, but it's the one, it's the first book I've written, like full book I've written. So I started it right after that. And I worked on it for about a year. You know, I got maybe 30,000 words in, you know, not very much. And then my computer crashed, and I thought, well, I'm done. I mean, I lost it. We tried to retrieve it, and I couldn't. But I'm like, I'm not a writer. I mean, it was fun, but I'm not a writer. So I just kind of put it out of my head. I'd think about it, but I didn't, you know, it's just, I had 30,000 words. That just seemed like so much to go back and redo. So I turned 50, and I was telling my family, the only thing I really regret is that I never finished that book. And a few months later, my daughter came in and said, Mom, I think your book is on this flash drive that I found in my car. I have no idea why I was in a car. And it was about 20,000 words of the 30,000 that I had written for Rockstar.
Wow.
So I pulled it out. I dusted it off. I started working on it again. I joined Romance Writers of America, and for about 5 months just talked about writing, because, you know, a lot of new writers, they talk a lot about writing. And then, but then I went to a critique group, and let me tell you, they kicked my butt for 6 months. I mean, every 2 weeks I would go in, and they would just pull the thing apart. And I would, you know, one week I got hit for sentence fragments. So I thought I cleaned those up, and then I got hit for run-on sentences the next time. That week I cried, because I was like, I can't do this. But it was just mostly grammar stuff. And I know how to tell a story, because I am an actor, and I did do comedy. And so I know how a story should flow. I mean, it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And, but I didn't know how to write that. I didn't know how to put it down. So they really helped me to write it. And 6 months after I joined that critique group, I won my first contest with this book, in a Romance Writer of America contest.
Wow.
So,
so they really helped then.
They really did.
Critique groups are fantastic.
They can be. Yeah.
If everyone's critiquing, they give you good critique. I mean, I've been involved in some that were.
Right. I mean, they were really hard on me, but they were also really encouraging. I mean, and so it was like boot camp. I mean, it was writing boot camp. I really had to just kind of buckle in and put my ego aside. And it was that part wasn't hard, because I knew I didn't know what I was doing. I think that I had the advantage there, because I think a lot of people who've written their whole life, or who've always wanted to be a writer, they do struggle with that maybe a little more than I would have, because I knew I didn't know what I wanted. I knew I didn't know anything. And when you don't know anything, that puts you in a really good place. So,
so you've got the 3 books.
Mm-hmm. So I got the 3 books, and I finished this one, the first book, in like May of 2015. But no, 2016. But I waited to put it out for a year. So, because I was trying to get the second book written. Plus, I just spent a year learning indie publishing and how it works. And then, because I wanted it to be as good as it could be, I wanted good editing, and I wanted a great cover. And those things cost money. And so it took me a while to save up to, you know, pay for those things. So that's why.
Okay, so you've got the 3 Will there be a fourth
The
soon?
fourth comes out in July. It went to
Fantastic.
my editor on Friday, my final editor.
Oh, so how long does it take you now
Well,
after
um,
almost 5 years? How long does it
it's
take you now to knock one out?
6 or 7 months. So I'm not a rapid release person. And in fact, there was a year between book 2 and book 3, but there were kind of some extenuating circumstances. I actually wrote about 50,000 words of a book that I had to throw out because it really wasn't salvageable. It wasn't good. I was a little depressed. And so, but then once I kind of got back in it, it took me 6 months to get the other one out. And then it's taken me about that long. When you take off the holidays and then we had to be gone for some period, if I add up all the time, it's between
Yeah.
6 and 7 months. Yeah.
So how many books do you think will end up in this series?
The fourth one, the one coming out, it is running after a heartbreaker. It will be the last one in this series. So I think I keep saying that for right now it is, because there are only so many ways to run away from a wedding, and
Yeah.
and I've sort of well, until you don't look like a jerk,
Yeah.
because right now I'm fairly sure I've made them sympathetic enough that the readers don't hate them. But at some point you become a jerk if you're just running away from wedding. And so the next book I have planned is just a standalone. It's a small town romance, sports romance standalone. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got yourself so that you went from taking over a year to write a book down to the 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
As a writer, what would you say is that one thing? What is that kryptonite that totally will keep you from getting in front of your computer?
Insecurity, big time insecurity, because I didn't grow up writing, and because my critique partners were so instrumental in helping me learn to write. And we're still friends, but we're not doing that anymore, mostly because I changed the rules. They're not publishing like I am to really make a living. And so that makes it a different thing. I need faster help, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Even though I put a book out every 6 months or 7 months, I still need faster help than, say taking a year to write a book. So there's insecurity on my part because now it's pretty much up to me. I mean, I have used story editors for the last 2 books because it just helped me and gave me a little more confidence. And then the second thing is just procrastination. I'm a huge procrastinator. But I think it goes back to the insecurity thing. Like if I get stuck in a plot and I don't know what comes next, I panic, and then I'm like, it's like a black hole. I can't see in it. So what I've learned to do is just skip forward or go to where I know what's going to happen and write from there. And then I can come back and fill in the other part, which I didn't think I would ever be able to do. But this fourth book is exactly what I did. I wrote to about 20,000 words. And then I wasn't sure what was going to happen next, but I knew what the midpoint was, and I knew the midpoint to the end. So I wrote the midpoint to the end. And then when I came back, it was actually easier to fill in that part because I already knew what had happened in the story.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
I don't know that I'll do that again, but it worked with this one. So we'll see. But so it is all about, for me, insecurity. Can I really trust myself? Can I really trust that? Like if I was going to tell you the story, I would be I would be completely comfortable telling you the story and standing up in front of people telling the story.
Yeah.
But it's writing it down. Like, have I done it correctly? Have I done it the best I can do it? And that does kind of get in my way a little bit.
Yeah. So if you could go back to the beginning when you were first starting, besides telling yourself to trust yourself, is there anything else that you would tell yourself, the younger you, as you're starting writing?
As I'm starting writing?
Yeah, if you're starting, besides telling yourself to trust yourself and just get the words out and be okay, is there anything else that you would say?
Yeah, there's this great book called Write Naked by Jennifer Probst. It's such a great book. It's on writing. Jennifer's she's a USA Today, New York Times bestseller, but it's a writing book, and really is so good. But in there, she says that she quotes Susan Elizabeth Phillips, who is a very famous romantic comedy romance writer, my hero. I read all her books. She's the reason I wanted to write romantic comedy. But she asked Susan what if she could give her younger self any advice, and she said, I would have given myself more permission to suck more, like, because what happens, and this, you know, this happened to me, it happens to me all the time, is that you're writing, and while you think you're not self-editing, you are self-editing, and if you get caught up in that, then you can't go forward, and you just are, that paralyzes you again with the insecurity. So I have a sticky note that I keep right next to my, yeah,
It says,
right next to my
if you're
computer.
listening on the blog and you're not watching, it
Yes.
says you have permission to suck. And that's fantastic. If you're a writer, you need to have that on your board where you can see it.
Right. I keep it right next to my computer, because when I was writing the first draft of this fourth book, I would get stuck and I would go, oh, you know, I'm telling too much, or I'm, you know, I've got too many, you know, ing words or whatever. And then I would just see that and go, yeah, permission to suck. I'm go, okay. And I would just keep writing. And that's what really why I think I was able to finish the book in the way I did. Because I also do believe that I can fix it. And so that, I know that sounds weird when I talk about my insecurity, but I've had now 3 books that I know sucked by the time I finished the first draft, and I fixed all of them. And so I do know I can fix it. It just may take me a long time. That's the problem.
Yeah. Are you one of those people that likes revision? That's my favorite part, is getting that down and going back and revising, because the revising is just, oh, I can fix this. I can fix that. It just goes so fast. But do you like writing that first draft? I like the first draft.
Yeah, I like to just get it out. I like to just tell the story. I think if I didn't feel like I had this time constraint, you know, because in indie publishing, you know, publishing fast, which, please, that ship has sailed. I mean, that is not happening for me. I don't know why I put so much pressure on myself, but I always feel like, oh, I've got to get it done. And I feel like I could, if I didn't have that mindset, I could maybe dig deeper into revisions and enjoy it more. I do revise really heavily, but I'm fairly stressed out the whole time I'm doing it. And I need to get better at that.
Yeah.
But too, revision punches all my buttons. It's all the insecurity buttons. You know, like I can vomit a story out, and it's going to be somewhat cohesive, but you know, really making it look like a book that an actual author who gets paid to write, making it look like that takes a lot of effort, and it makes me nervous that I haven't done it well. Yeah.
Well, you know, I think I heard a quote, something like only like 2 or 3% of people ever sit down to write a book, and of those, only like 1% ever finish it. Yeah. So you know, you got to think about that. And you've done 3.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then you had a story in a collection.
No, under Jami Albright, or under a different name. I wrote oh yes, I did.
There was something else on here. Yeah, that I saw.
11 authors, and we all wrote one story.
That's right. Yeah.
It was pretty interesting. And actually that book's gotten reviewed really, really well. So
when your name, if you go to Amazon, everybody, I'll have a link in the show notes, you will see that book also. And I was reading the little blurb about it. Sounds really good.
Yeah, it's a very, very cute, fun story. It's kind of New Year's Eve, and it's set, there are all these New Year's resolutions. But 11 of us, we each wrote a couple of the chapters. And the editor said she had a very hard time seeing where one person ended and the other began. So we worked really hard. Yeah.
Were you all handpicked for this?
Well, we were. Yeah, I was asked. I think there were 2 or 3 that decided they wanted to try to do it, and I was in a group with some other romantic comedy writers, and so we all just kind of decided to do it.
So similar style then,
mm-hmm.
but I'll have to check that one out too, because I like the blurb, the way it read, and It sounded a lot of fun. Now I met, if I think everybody listening, a couple months ago, I talked, what month is it? June? Okay. So last month I went off to Chicago in the beginning of the month for the Sell More Books show. I always forget to put the S on the L of that last word. Anyway, the Sell More Books show in my favorite city, Chicago. And my friend Lori and I got to go see the Cubs. It was so great. It was great the whole week, walking around in t-shirts, almost shorts, but it was cold inside the building a little. Then the night of the game was the Monday night after the conference, and it was so freezing. I had to buy a scarf, and then I sat in one of those seats. We had great seats, like right behind home plate. Sat in the seat. It was so cold, I had to go buy a blanket. Then I had to carry it on the plane. So I've got my this big old bulky blanket because I paid $50 for it. I wasn't leaving it. No, but anyway, it was my first writing conference, and I don't know, it wasn't that expensive, but for someone who doesn't have a lot of money, it kind of was expensive, but it was like the best money I ever spent because I met so many great writers, and I've been featuring a lot of them on the show here. I had a great time. I learned so much. It was like, in the last couple of years, it's the best money I've spent on myself as a writer. And how about, and you were a speaker there, so that's where I was getting to. Jami's a speaker, and she was so funny. And as soon as she started talking, and I'm Googling her book, you know, and trying not to read as she's talking at the same time and to take notes at the same time. And that's what keeps getting me is I find a book and I just want to sit and read. And I'm not paying attention to anybody else, which is really bad. So that for me was a great amount of money, a great thing that I spent on myself. So as you as a writer, what have you spent money on that really was the best money that you feel like you've spent as a writer?
Oh, well, that's definitely hands down. When I paid to go to the Smarter Artist Summit in May of 2016.
That's in Austin with
that was in Austin with the Sterling and Stone guys, Johnny Beecher, Sean, and Dave. And so, I had put a book out under another name with one of my critique partners, and we put it out in December of 2015, and we're like, okay, who's going to buy our books? And nobody did because nobody knew it was there except our family and friends. And I was like, and we indie published. My critique partner had been traditionally published up to that point, but we decided to indie publish it because we knew we weren't going to make a whole lot of money on it. And I thought, well, if I'm only going to make $4.50, I want my $4.50. Like, I don't want to have to share that with a publisher.
Yeah.
So, but I was talking to a friend and I said, how do you get your book seen? I cannot even imagine how you do that. And she suggested I listen to the Sell More Book Show podcast, which had never listened to a podcast in my life. I had to figure out how to do that. And then, but on that podcast, they talked about the self-publishing podcast guys. And they were doing crazy things at the time, like writing a book from conception to publication in a month.
I followed that. It was one of those, I was sponsored that so I could follow along. That was fun.
It was fun. And and people are doing that now all the time, but at the time they were really and truly some of the first to do stuff like that. And so then just a couple of weeks after I started listening, they said they were having a summit, the Smart Artist Summit in May. And I was telling my husband, I said, I really think, and it's in Austin, which is only a 2-hour drive from me, 2.5 hours. I was like, I think I should go. And my husband was like, how are we going to pay for it? And I was like, oh yeah. And he wasn't saying I couldn't go. He was just saying, like, we got to figure out if you're going to do this, it's Christmas and, we got kids in college. I mean, how are we going to do this? So I was like, I should wait until I have a book out to go to one of these things. So we go to Christmas at my mom's and we come back and I have an email with the speakers on it. And one of the speakers for the Smarter Artist Summit was Julia Kent, who she writes romantic comedy like me. I had never read her, but it was my sign from God that I was supposed to go to that conference. So I had gotten a mileage. When I got home from my mother's, there was a mileage check waiting for me that I had forgotten I was getting. And I returned all my Christmas presents and I paid the $500 for that ticket. And it is the best $500 I've ever spent in my life, ever. Because first of all, it put me in a community of people that are doing amazing things. And second of all, it connected me with some of those people on a level that has just, I mean, they're still my friends. I mean, two of them I have lunch with at least once a week. And, but, and the thing is, it wasn't like while I met Julia, and she was wonderful, and she has helped me, given me advice or shared my book or whatever. It wasn't that I met just a lot of romance writers. I just met people like me who were wanting to make a living doing this, and they were willing to do whatever anybody told them to do to make it work. I mean, you know, legally and ethically. And so, and that's huge. I mean, you cannot put a price on that. And then it's motivating when you see some of those people doing these amazing things, and you're like, oh wait, we all know the same thing. I can do those amazing things. And so, so it's that really and truly best money I ever spent. And that's why when I was there, the advice I got was wait a year to publish the next book. Wait until you have 3 books ready. I didn't. I had 2 written. The third one really needed to be revised, but I still waited. And, you know, again, had to figure out how I was going to pay for my edits and how I was going to get a cover. And, because my covers are, you know, professionally done. They're very...
I was just going to say, they're really nice. They're very eye-catching.
Really cute. I love them. And so that costs money. And I didn't have any money. I mean, like I said, we had 2 kids in college. I was paying for a wedding. And so I said this in my speech, but I sold plasma to pay for my edits, because for 3 months I went to the plasma donation place and I sold plasma because that was the only way my edits were getting done. So
does that pay well?
You know, yeah, it did. It paid like $70 a week.
Wow.
I mean, you know, you're there for several hours, but I can't really remember because it was a couple of years ago. But in some weeks you'd get paid more if they needed, if they had like a decrease in the number of people donating or whatever, or if you came every time you were scheduled to come, because you can go twice a week. If you came every time, you get a little bonus at the end of the month. But yeah, so I mean, my edits were $400, a little over $400. So that paid for all of them. I had a little bit left over to run a couple of small promos when I launched my book. Yeah. So it was, I mean, it's just sort of like, how bad do you want it? You know, that was really uncomfortable for me to go down there and be with people who aren't necessarily like me. And they were wonderful. And I met some really great people while I was there, because you sit with them forever. But it was uncomfortable the first few times I went, for sure, because we didn't all look alike. And that's fine with me. Sometimes it's not fine with them. I mean, you know, it's kind of it's very awkward. But it was awesome. And it was a great experience, frankly, because I actually got some story ideas just from talking to some really, really interesting people. And
Well, you know, it's smart too, because as writers, we tend to isolate ourselves from the world. And so having a group of people that you can turn to when you need to, or just for having a round. I know there's one of the groups, I can't remember which one it is.
I know.
And it's like, and I'll find them again, because I know the girl, Mary, which group is this? You can go on, and they go on and Google Hangout while they all write. They don't talk to each other. They just have it open. So they feel like there's a connection. I thought, that's really smart. That
Is
really
that Mary Mayweather?
I'm sorry?
Mary Mayweather?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she was one of my roommates in Chicago.
Yeah.
She's
awesome.
great. I'm sure she'll be on the show eventually here.
Yeah.
I'm slowly getting through all the books and getting to all the people that I met. And I had Anne-Marie, one of my other roommates, on recently, because she does numerology, and it's fascinating. And we're doing a follow-up show with a girl, and I both did the workbook. And I really didn't last very long because I got busy with writing, and so I'm trying to get a book out. But Becky went through it, and she has all these questions. So we're going to record a bonus show or tack it at the end of another show, depending on how long it is, where Anne-Marie's going to answer Becky's questions and walk her through, because Becky has history with numerology. So it'd be really interesting. Then I get to listen and watch all this go down and such. So I'm looking forward to that. We talked about doing it on the 20th. I've got a note on my calendar.
Right.
Get everybody together, which is the day that the show will air.
Right.
So,
Right. Oh, on
so
the
we'll
20th,
be on.
this one. Yeah, okay, good.
And yeah, this airs on Thursday, so we're recording this a little bit early. I'll be recording everything for a little early because I have plans every day this week.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I don't write when my husband is home
Mm-hmm.
or has the day off
Mm-hmm.
at all. So he has a lot of days off this week.
Yeah, there you
we
go.
got we got plans, and I got kids staying with us, so
Yeah,
we got a lot of stuff we're doing. So when I do write, yeah, I'm gone all day long, and
yeah.
go from coffee house to Panera to Denny's at
Right,
night.
right,
I can end up at Denny's at midnight, and they're really nice. They know me in these places because I go there all the time.
right.
They don't bother me. They just bring me more tea, decaf, please, because it's
Mm-hmm.
midnight. Um, but
That's awesome.
but yeah, yeah, it can be a very isolating life. So
Mm-hmm.
it was very smart of you to go
Mm-hmm.
down to that summit. Have you got any other summits you'll be going to this year as a
Yeah.
writer, not as a speaker?
Yes. Well, yeah. My fall is pretty full. I'm going to Inc. Novelists Inc. It's a professional writing organization. Big. It's I don't know if it's as big as Romance Writers of America, but it's pretty close to that. And um, so there's some requirements for NINC. I think you have to hit a certain sales threshold before you can apply, and
Yeah, I
some
think I've
of
heard
that.
of
Yeah.
them.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm going. That's in September, and then in October, I'm going to the Bahamas for a writing retreat with some of the people that I met at the Smarter Artist Summit.
Oh,
Like 3 years ago or whenever, and we went last year for a week, and it was awesome. And so we're going to go back this year, and then in November I'm going to the 20 books to 50K conference. I am speaking there, but I'm going. And then I come back, like I leave on Monday, I come back on Thursday, and in Houston the Romance Author Mastermind is that weekend. It's a big romance conference, and I went last year. It was amazing. And so I'm going to do that. So yeah, I have quite a few. I'm a bit of a conference whore. I like them a lot.
you pick up so many things.
Yeah,
You pick
yeah.
up so
Well,
much.
and I'm an extrovert, so for me, it's right up my alley. I love being around people and let's talk
Oh,
and
yeah. I'm an
yeah,
extrovert too. And at the end of the summer book show, I was absolutely exhausted because every
yeah,
time anybody gave it, we had like 10 minutes in between speakers, and I raced around the room meeting people and taking
mhm,
pictures and I've got this notebook
yeah,
full of names.
yeah,
And I mean, I was just,
yeah,
but when I got on the plane Tuesday morning, I was just slept all the way home. I was
yeah.
just
People's
tired.
out. Yeah, I know. Me too. But yeah, because I do hit a threshold, but I do like to, I like to meet people. I like to get to know them, and I want to not only what's one like not only glean information, but I like to give information if people are interested. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds good. So how can people find you?
Okay, I am on all the social media platforms. Jami Albright author, and it's Jami, no E. So Jami Albright author. And then I have a reading group, Jami Albright's Brightons. That's on Facebook. And then I'm Jami Albright author on Instagram. And then I have a Twitter, but I don't tweet very often. I'll retweet some things. But Twitter, to me, people are yelling at me all the time, it feels like. And it's hard for me to keep up. And then my website is www.jamialbright.com. And pretty much anything you need to know from the books, there are links there, there are descriptions. I have a sign up for my newsletter if you're interested. My bio's there. So you can find, that's kind of my hub. And then you can find me on my Amazon page on Amazon and on
Oh,
BookBub.
great.
So,
And I'll have all those links in the show notes.
mm-hmm.
And you said the next book comes out in July?
July 18th.
July 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta write that down just for me. Well,
Yeah.
everybody else, but also for me because I wanna make sure I'm all caught up um, by the time it comes out. Last Bride book.
Yep.
Making notes because afterwards, when I look down at that, I will
Yeah.
say,
Yeah. Like,
"Hell
what's
was I
that?
trying to
Yeah.
write?"
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
You're
coming on
welcome.
today.
You're welcome. Yeah.
It's, I recommend everybody drop down to the show notes, take a look at the links, recommend her books. They are so much fun. I read such a variety of things, but I try, and before I go to bed, I try not to read anything
Scary
that's
stuff.
too depressing or scary, or I
Yeah.
can't sleep. Yes, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a very vivid imagination. We used to live in the middle of nowhere, and I swear to God, I could imagine. We had like a 1/4 mile driveway. I take the trash out every Sunday night, and I never did it till after dark because I was a stupid kid. And every week I imagined Bigfoot and all kinds of. We lived in the mountains, all kinds of horrible things getting ready to attack me, and I could actually see them, jumping out at me. So I have a very vivid imagination. So
Yeah.
this has been really wonderful in the evenings to read your books. And just,
Hey.
it's nice, it's fun, it's lighthearted. I go to sleep
Yeah.
with a smile on my face, and then
Good.
I can save the zombies and the other
Yeah.
crazy
For
stuff
later.
for
Yeah.
the day of light,
Yeah.
the light of day.
Light of day. Yeah. I know that's how I was when I was reading Outlander. Like I started dreaming about Outlander, and this is a funny story. So I was in my Sunday school, adult Sunday school class, and people were asking, for prayer requests, and I kid you not, it was on the tip of my tongue to say, "Please pray for Jamie and Claire. He's in a bad place." And then I went, wait. These people don't know Jamie and Claire.
Oh,
Like
they
in
might
my
have.
brain, it was so real to me, but it was that thing I had been reading before I went to bed. I dreamed about it, and then the next morning, I'm like, oh, somebody needs to pray for these people.
If you had said it, I wonder how many of them would have said, "Oh yes, let's pray for them," because they watch too. Especially with something like Outlander, it may
Yeah.
not be something that people want to admit that they watch,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that they really do. And you might have found out who were
Yeah,
the closet
exactly. Yeah,
Outlander fans.
exactly. They come up to me later. I'm already praying. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much,
You're
Jamie.
welcome.
Everybody,
Thank
like I
you.
said, drop down to the show notes, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
Thanks, Jamie. If you enjoyed today's show, do not forget to drop down to the comments and let me know. If you are on the podcast, give us some star love. We haven't gotten much yet. And I know it's easy to forget to do that if you're listening on a podcast, because then you got to go and find your phone or computer or whatever and try to figure out how to do that. But if you can figure it out, I would appreciate it so much. I am also on Instagram under Books Cubed, so you can give me book recommendations there too. So I'm having a terrible trouble talking this week. Next week on the show, I have got Cecilia Mecca, who's also a best-selling author. We're going to talk vampires and bare-chested men in her Borders series. So come back for that. And in the meantime, go read a good book.